I wanted to take a short time out here in my backyard just to explain a little bit about cover and how to work around it. Now, the first thing you should understand that if you're considering that cover is the door jamb in your house and like that, if you live in the United States, chances are your house isn't going to give you any cover. It's just concealment because bullets will go right through it. So you want to be aware of what you're standing behind in the first place. It may just be concealment. If it's actually something that's going to stop a bullet, that's where this stuff becomes super important. I've seen a whole lot of different approaches to this. Some work, some don't, but what I wanted to teach you is basically this. It works for you or it doesn't work for you, whatever that technique is. So if you go to a school or you see a technique on YouTube or whatever, here's a way that you can determine whether it works for you. All you need is your cell phone. I love the fact that cell phones now have videos like crazy. So over here, I've taken an inexpensive tripod I use just for scouting and putting my binoculars on it when I'm out hunting, and I put my cell phone on it with a little cell phone adapter I got on Amazon, and I've got it pointing this way. And what I'm looking for is what happens when I practice my technique. Are parts of me sticking out that could get shot? So let me show you some techniques I've learned over the years, and then we'll show you what it looks like from the cell phone's point of view. Real quick, I'm going to insert this note because after reviewing the video, I could see where I failed, and that helps me learn. An interesting way in which I have this set up is I have this at kind of an angle. It's sort of sitting like this. It's not squared up against the camera on the other side where my cell phone is. So I have a camera, let's say here, and rather than having this target squared up this way, it's bent this way. So when you have an angled piece of cover like that, what happens is you have actually less cover because of the geometry. So you'll notice when you see this clip that when I first go to the right, you're going to see my shoulders exposed. I could have easily gotten shot in the shoulder or winged on the side of my head because I hadn't thought about the way that the cover was presenting against the threat. Well, your threats aren't always going to stand in exactly the spot where you want them to be. So this is a very good thing to think about, is how much cover do you actually have? The other thing is this cover is very narrow. It's basically narrower than I am, okay? So I have to be very careful if I'm going to guard myself over here, not to at the same time expose myself over here by stepping too far this way. So there's a whole science, if you will, in using cover. I would say that the most important two things you should be aware of, particularly if you're carrying a gun and you're out and about, or even if you're not, are cover and out. Where's cover? What's actual cover? And where's my way out? And then once you get to cover, now you got time. Where you don't have time is when you're out and exposed. If you get to cover and you have time, that's where you get to decide, am I going to fight back or am I going to remain here? Am I going to move from cover to cover? Am I going to just try to get out of here? If you're going to get behind cover, then make sure that you're behind cover. And if you're going to try to work around it, take a few breaths, get yourself calmed down, and think about the situation and make sure that you don't do what I did today in this video and expose too much of yourself where you could get shot. All right, let's get going with the video again. Many, many years ago, I was taught to lean out a little bit. So if I'm shooting, and I tend to shoot more of a weaver, a modified weaver stance. A lot of people shoot this way and they shoot the isosceles stance. That's fine, whatever you use. You're just leaning a little bit. So if I'm right-handed, which I am, I'm going to use my right eye. I'm right eye dominant. And I'm going to adjust the position so that I can't be seen by the threat, get my weapon up, and just lean out just enough to be able to see the bad guy and shoot. Bang, bang, bang. Now on the other side, if I want to go the other way, I have to change hands, because if I stay this way and lean out to get the bad guy, he can see a lot of me by the time I get out there. So instead, I'm going to change hands with which a semi-automatic pistol. It's easy to do. Peel your thumb off, insert your palm, change hands. Now I'm going to change my grip, and I also have to change my feet, because if I don't, I'm all jacked up and tied up. I want to be careful not to expose more of my leg than I have to. I'm going to get myself all lined up, lean out. If I don't see it, lean out a little more until I do. Bang, 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 and try to expose as little of myself as humanly possible. Now, where you're really going to learn whether this is working for you or not is when you look on the other side at what can be seen of you, because if a part of your leg is sticking out, or your foot or your knee or whatever, I guarantee you, you're probably going to get shot there. And if you ever want to learn that the hard way, go practice with simunitions, because it seriously hurts. Or you can do paintball or whatever, and you'll find out, or even airsoft, you'll find out that you're sticking stuff out where you shouldn't be. If you don't have the ability to do that, well, an easy way to do it is set up a cell phone and have it watch you and pretend the cell phone is the bad guy. And you're trying to approach that without exposing more of yourself than you absolutely have to. Now, I've seen with handguns a bunch of different techniques. I've seen the one I just showed you. One time I was at Front Sight Academy, and they taught the step and drag thing. I challenged the instructor on it because it looked like a horrible technique to me. You judge for yourself. I'm going to show you the step and drag right-handed, the step and drag left-handed, okay? This is what they taught. And by the way, I'm not bagging on Front Sight. A lot of the stuff they teach is excellent. It's just this one technique drove me crazy. So here you are. They like the isosceles stance. So you got the isosceles stance. You step and drag your foot, and now there's your bad guy. Okay, on the other side, you keep the same, don't change hands. Step, drag your foot, there's your bad guy. Now you can try to figure out how much of yourself you expose. Even if I try not to expose any more than necessary, when I step and drag my foot, even if I lean, you can see a lot of my leg is exposed. I'm going to get shot there. If I go the other way, even if I change hands and I step and drag and lean a little bit, I've still exposed a lot more of myself, I suppose, than with the other technique. Now, another technique I learned is the sideways step. So if I'm right-handed, I'm going to try to get behind cover as much as possible, and I'm going to step with my left foot kind of at an angle. So if you look at it, I'm going to be stepping like this, putting my left foot almost in front of my right foot. So here I am. I'm here. I'm going to step and lean forward, and as I move forward, it exposes just enough for me to be able to shoot. On the other side, if I change hands, I'm going to get myself close to the edge here as best I can. Step, and as I move forward, move my body forward, I got just enough to be able to shoot. So there's another technique for you. It's the step technique, where you're basically doing a little dance step like this. It's footwork, okay? Now, no matter how you do that, footwork is important. Your ability to maintain the weapon and not lose the weapon is important. But it's also important, most important, to know what you're exposing and what you're not.